Patriots running back Rhamondre Stevenson fumbled twice in the team's 21-14 loss to the Steelers. He fumbled the ball a league-high 7 times last year. So today, Phil Perry asked Mike Vrabel if he feels like he knows guys well enough to hold them accountable.
Yeah, I mean, I do. But I also got to try to balance, winning football games and gaining yards and scoring points and, all those things, right? So there's a, we just got to get it fixed, right? And I know there's no easy fix, and the only thing I know how to do is work, and we'll work at it. And if I feel like, or we feel like that it's, in the best interest to limit those opportunities, then we'll have to do that.
All right, let's deep dive these Patriots turnover problems. Phil, you asked Mike Vrabel that question, and you just said a few minutes ago that you have good running backs behind Rhamondre Stevenson and Antonio Gibson and Travion Henderson, so maybe you sit him. Do you think the Patriots will go so far as to sit Rhamondre Stevenson?
I think it's possible. It feels like Mike Vrabel's left the door open for that. He said today, we'll see later in the week what that means in terms of reps for Rhamondre Stevenson after that kind of performance. He said last night, I'm only 20 minutes from the end of the game here. We still have to talk about it, but that's an indicator, Tom, that there is a decision to make. It is not just let's just continue to plow ahead and roll forward with what the options have been in the past. So to me, I think it should be on the table. You have a deep running back room. You have an opportunity to lean on someone else here. Why not do it?
He's fumbled 9 times since the beginning of last year. 9. If you don't do something about it, if you allow him to go out there and he fumbles again, then who's stupid? Who's the dummy? The manager who allows that to continue to happen without having enough ramifications and enough time to fix it. None of these fumbles are coming because of explosive and unexpected contact. He's getting his arm brushed on so many of these. Or overfighting.
How much of it's mental then, Curran?
I think there's a component. He actually kind of acknowledged that there was a mental component to it. To me, it's a physical issue. Kevin Falk overcame it. I don't care if you have to have Kevin Falk move into Rhamondre Stevenson's house and or condo, but it is fixable.
Do you remember how Kevin Falk beat it? Because my question now is...
Bill Belichick beat the pus out of him.
Okay, great.
And said, you can't have the ball anymore. He cost him like 35 points in 2000. Single-handedly cost him like 5 touchdowns. But I look at Stevenson, and it's the Patriots' fault now if he goes out there and fumbles again and puts them in the crosshairs. And I look at Stevenson, too, and think to myself, Phil and I were just discussing this. There is a psychological barrier, I think, too, that this team is confronting as they try to get better. Drake Maye came from a 7-4 ne'er-do-well college program. Rhamondre Stevenson was a 4th overall pick, 4th round pick. DeMario Douglas went to Liberty and was a 6th round pick. Some of these guys, I think, don't have yet the belief maybe that I am in an elite program at an elite level and I need to make elite decisions.
And I think it's important for the coaching staff, too, to look at their locker room. And even if they know it's not perfect yet and the talent isn't where they want it to be yet, and 3 years from now they think it'll look much different, I think it's important for them to project an air of, hey, we expect to do well here. I don't think that existed last year because they were trying to be realistic, which I don't blame them for. That was one of the worst rosters in football. But when you allow the winning to become the norm, when you allow that to become the expectation, it's really, really hard to dig yourselves out of that. So even though it's year one of your program and you want to manage expectations, I understand that. That's fine. But it can't get to the point where, hey, we're losing games. We weren't expected to win these games anyway. Let's get incrementally better, even if it doesn't mean W's on the column there. I just think, looking at last year, if you allow yourself down that slippery slope, it can make for a long season.
What sucks, Trenni, is you don't have to go back more than like 105 hours to see when Rhamondre Stevenson was exhibiting why the Patriots would give him $36 million. He was the best player in some ways the week before against Miami. So that's the conundrum.
So that's what I wonder. We're going to talk about Drake Maye in a second. But if you don't play him like you suggest, Phil, does that end up hurting Drake Maye?
I think it has the potential to. It's a fair question. I just wonder if the logic would follow thusly. Okay, Rhamondre Stevenson, he's our best back, but he's out. We got to sit him because the fumbles are getting to be too much. So now we have to be more of a pass-happy team, I guess? So, Drake, good luck, but it's going to be another 40-plus dropbacks in week 4. The same way it was in week 3, loss. The same way it was in week 1, loss. If they want to be balanced, are they looking at Stevenson and saying, well, this guy's the key? Did they look at Antonio Gibson the same way? Did they look at Travion Henderson in the same way, Tom? I don't know if they do. It feels like everybody just holds Rhamondre Stevenson and his level of talent in such high esteem that taking him out could really impact how they construct a game plan, and that to me might not be good for Drake Maye, who needs balance right now at this stage of his career.
Yeah, and maybe I misspoke. I meant to say Rhamondre Stevenson. He had a very good game against Miami, and he had the 55-yard catch. He exhibited for you exactly why.
I think you said it right.
Okay, so that's exactly why you want to put that faith in him, because Henderson might be a terrific player at some point, and Gibson is a very good player, but Stevenson at his best is extremely hard to tackle, can catch the ball, and is fast and explosive and kind of a home run threat. We've seen it happen.
All right, well, I just said how would that affect Drake Maye. It is time now for our Ford Big Board. Here are Drake Maye's stats against the Steelers. He went 28 of 37 for 268 yards, 2 touchdowns, a pick, and a fumble loss. He could have easily, though, had a total of 3 interceptions on the day, and one that was dropped for sure. After Sunday's game, Mike Vrabel talked about what he saw from the young quarterback in the game.
Unfortunately, some decisions that have to be better. I'm sure we'll have to protect them better. And just understanding that you don't have to win it all on one play. There's opportunities to move on and save the day the next play. And you just can't put the ball in harm's way at that position.
All right, Curran, we just talked about if you bench Rhamondre Stevenson, you might be putting Drake Maye in harm's way. You may not be putting him in the best position to win. You can't bench him. There's nobody else behind him. But how do you drill into Drake Maye that he has to make better decisions, particularly in crucial moments?
There's no way to bang him on the side of the head with a rolled up newspaper and say, cut it out, because there's such in the moment decisions. When we watch that play that he fumbled on near the end of the game, we're sitting there watching with Scott Pioli, and Scott's saying as the play is developing, look at that, that's good growth. He's got 2 hands on the ball, look at that. Boom, he tries to throw it at the end of the play, and the ball pops out. So you have made incremental progress. For 2.1 seconds, he was doing the right thing. Can they eliminate that last 0.4 seconds when his brain goes kablooey? And I do think that that's the way it happens. Look, Tom Brady had a game in Denver in 2001. In October, when he was, really playing well. He had 4 picks on 4 possessions in Denver when the Patriots were in position to win. Drew Bledsoe had a 5-pick game as a rookie. Drake Maye is going to get better. He's going to eliminate this stuff. We just have to keep watching it, unfortunately, and saying, well, you can't do that. No crap.
Yeah, I think it can be learned. I think what the Patriots are hoping for can be learned. And I think to some degree, you don't want to completely beat out of him that hero ball sensibility that he at times possesses on the football field, because that will lead to special plays at various points over the course of his career. It's understanding in the moment as it's happening, being almost to see yourself from a third-person vantage point and say, this ain't the time, Drake. Okay, buddy, and hold on to the football and go down or throw the football away. We saw it in the first preseason game. We saw it yesterday. We saw it last year. He makes these decisions in real time that we can all see are not the right decision. It's just a question of whether or not that switch flips for him.
And that's why I think a lot of us wonder, is this just the growing pains of a young quarterback? Or is it more indicative of what his long-term potential is? I'd like to think it's just indicative of a young quarterback, because I'm with Phil. I don't want to see them rein him in to the point where you take away his best attributes, but it also, Tom, needs to be where you have to rein him in.
Yeah, and it would be wonderful if they could do that, but that's where Mike's commentary about balancing trying to win football games and be productive and make yards and score points has to be balanced with trying to send the message. It'd be great if the Patriots and Vrabel could go Parcells and say, you know what, we're not throwing the ball, we're going to run it every down. Well, you can't, because running backs will fumble too frequently. But that's what Parcells would do. He'd say, you know what, you can't throw the ball, Drake. Sorry, you're really productive, but we don't trust you. And then he has to sit there and hand it off for an hour. They can't do that because the running backs don't hold on to it. But he is going to work through it. He's going to be a better, smarter player. this week than he was last week, and next year than he is this year.
All right. Well, Curran wrote an entire article about the Patriots making stupid, costly mistakes, and Pop Douglas was guilty as charged. Yesterday, with the game on the line, Drake Maye threw to Douglas, who needed only about 2 yards for a first down. But rather than go forward, he went backwards in an attempt to get around defenders. Game over. Here are Pop and Mike Vrabel on the play after the game.
Did you think you were at the first down area, or you didn't know where you were?
Yeah, I was somewhere by it. I know I was somewhere by it because we only had 2 yards.
So you knew you probably had to make a play, I'm guessing, after you caught the ball.
Facts.
Mike, on the Pop Douglas play, was that route run to the proper depth?
Well, we need to probably get one revolution further, but even if we don't, we just have to knife. When we get between two defenders, again, we had great examples in Miami where we split those guys and.
What happened here, and how do they handle Pop Douglas?
Well, first of all, I sat here at this desk on Postgame Live and said, I don't blame him for going backwards. He had too far to go. He didn't have too far to go. He was at the friggin' line. All he had to do was burrow, as Phil said, and everyone was polite and didn't make me feel stupid. But I apologize to all viewers who had to listen to me say he didn't have room to try and make the first down. Yes, he did. Again, he has to be somebody who lets the game slow down the same way Drake Maye does and say, I'm not at the proper depth. Have that in the back of his mind as he's making the catch and understand what he needs to do instead of getting scatterbrained.
Bad move by Douglas, and I felt like, Mike Vrabel talking about, that's a decision you got to make for the team, is be able to knife and burrow and take that punishment because it's coming for the betterment of the team. That, to me, tells me that was not an inconsequential, just a one hiccup, one bad play kind of thing for Pop Douglas in Mike Vrabel's eyes. And so I wonder, Trenni, if we do see some Efton Chisholm moving forward, if he's healthy enough, because those guys are basically playing the same position. Pop Douglas has done very, very little over the course of the first 3 weeks here. It might be time to make a move.
Which also talks a little bit about the team's overall philosophy and the coaches getting used to the players. Why is the smallest player getting the ball in a critical spot when he hasn't yet been that productive, and he's probably not going to plow through people? Give it to Matt Collins. Give it to somebody else.
Although Matt Collins did the same thing in that game yesterday. Caught it and tried to do the whole loop around and didn't get there either.
Curran, wrong again.